Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners, December 8th. Ms. Todd is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by me with the invocation. If you'll please rise.
Please face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Father, we're here today to ask for your blessings and guidance in the performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just to the best interest of everyone. Help us to overcome our shortcomings and keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you. We've got approval of the agenda's first item of business. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with the motion to approve the agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Todd. Any discussion or changes? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. All right. Next item of business is to recognize outgoing City Commissioner of District 4, Joanne Todd, by me. Ms. Todd, if you'll join me up front, please.
All right.
It's a real pleasure to have this honor. 16 years. I'm a guy from the Reagan era, and you used to work for Newt Gingrich, but Miss Todd has always reminded me of Margaret Thatcher of Griffin, Georgia. She has never been shy of giving her opinion, but she's always there willing to serve and loves this community dearly. Our relationship has had the good, the bad, the ugly. I look back at the days when we were going on conventions to Kiwanis and help raising me at church and everything. And then we had some rocky periods, but I think we've all learned how to mature over time to better the city of Griffin, and it has been an absolute pleasure to be a teammate with you. And you look at your commitment, whether it's through the Collaborative Authority, support for the Housing Authority, work on Development Authority, the Downtown Development Authority, Workforce Investment Board, and especially the love of the airport and working towards getting it relocated. The dream is almost complete, and we are very blessed to have you as a part of this great community, and we have a few tokens of appreciation for you.
Oh, really?
So if you like to say
I do. I have a prepared statement. It won't take a few minutes. All right. And I entitled this, Everything Has a Time. When Solomon was anointed king over Israel, he requested one special gift from God, that of wisdom. God granted that wish. Ecclesiastes presents an exciting message of joy and enthusiasm. One of my most favorite passages from Ecclesiastes is the 3rd chapter entitled, Everything Has Its Time. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to weep, and so on in this wonderful chapter. This is my time as a Griffin City Commissioner to retire. 16 years of meetings, twice a month, called meetings represents a big chunk of life. When we run for office, we think we have all the answers that once elected, reality overcomes this confidence, and we seek that which Solomon sought, and that is wisdom. Having served on the big stage of working in which local office, please, are we still here? So I thought, I soon learned that when national politicians state that local politics were the hardest job done due to the proximity of the citizen being one's neighbor, that was true. Griffinites take their government to heart and are serious participants. Add social media to the mix, and serving one's fellow man becomes an even bigger challenge. In my first term, we went through 3 city managers, Rick Chafin, Ron Rabin, and acting city manager Lisa Hutchinson, prior to hiring Kenny Smith in 2004. Computer problems, airport extension proponents, personal conflicts between commissioners and department heads over these things resulted in a head-shaking atmosphere at times. The fear of Y2K and the possible disruption of the computer system of the city brought chaos in year 2000, which was my first year. Computers were coming into their own as the future owners of the universe. Then we couldn't get experts to come in and with enough knowledge to fix our problems. Now we have a state-of-the-art computer system that would compete with the best Bill Gates could give, an IT department that has no equal. A thought brought to light that Heads Creek, a drought brought to light that Heads Creek Reservoir was not adequate to provide water for our people. Especially that fateful day, we only had a day's supply of water. We publicly appealed to God at the Griffin Auditorium for rain. God heard our city, our cry, and as well as the surrounding communities who offered access by way of pipes to their water supply. Now we have a regional water reservoir that serves us and surrounding communities, our Steel Branch Reservoir. Earlier, elected officials in the 1980s saw a future need and purchased the property. So commissioners make decisions based on years ahead, as we have with the airport. Those of us who ran for office and believed that relocating the current airport to the vicinity of the industrial park would serve future generations finally saw the reality of that dream happening when our Spalding County Board of Commissioners and our City of Griffin Commissioners voted to form the Airport Authority and begin the process of relocating. It is happening. Last but not least was the hiring of Kenny Smith to be our city manager. Kenny has completed 12 years of outstanding job performance and, equally as important, a reputation to work with others to make Griffin and Spalding County all that it can be and more. These major projects in which I had the opportunity to lead and participate bring a measure of joy of accomplishment as I wind down my public elected service to the people. As I look back today, it's a good time to relinquish being an elected official. I will still be involved in my community. This is a great commission board we have. We have worked steadfastly together to be honorable, to find solutions, and to move this great city forward. I thank the voters who kept voting for me and allowing me to serve. I have said that serving one's community is the highest calling for a citizen, not the easiest, but an honorable one. Thank you to the 4th District for allowing me to serve these 16 years. I have a wonderful replacement whom all of you know, David Brock, who has just been elected to represent the 4th District. He comes ready to serve. He has spent the last 4 months learning. I look forward to David being my commissioner, and when my lights go out in a storm, I can call him and he will be there to get them back on. Thank you, Joe and Todd.
Yes, ma'am, that'd be fine. Commissioner, if you'd like to make any comments at this time?
Beg your pardon?
If you'd like, yes, ma'am. Help yourself.
Me?
It's a bird bath. She says she smells like garlic.
Oh, good grief.
I was just thinking of that. Dick, take your dogs and go home. Thank you, Joanne. At the pleasure, would you like to make any comments, Cynthia?
Yeah, I would. I don't know how I'm gonna make it up here without you. Um, a lot of times, Joy and I have had to be partners in crime, had to watch out for each other. We kind of watch our back, make sure the men didn't get anything over on us. Um, it's been a pleasure. It hasn't always been easy. We started out kind of rocky. I mean, our personalities bumped heads immediately. But over the last few years, Joanne and I have formed this friendship. A lot of the times, she knows everything. She's a wealth of knowledge. So whenever I need to know something, that's who I go to. In the friendship, what I learned about Joanne is that our personalities are a lot alike. Joanne loves her family. She loves her children. Her sons are her heart. She loves her husband. She's a good mother, a good friend. She's just a good all-around person. Like I said, over the last few years, probably the last 4, that I've really, really learned about her. I really learned how tough she was during the redistricting. I want to say it was right about the time of the last election that you ran. They changed Joanne's district. Well, we changed Joanne's district. And it was like 50% right down the middle of minorities, 50% African American, 50% white district. And I thought, well, maybe this is going to be kind of tough for Joanne. But Joanne got in the district. She worked with everybody. It was funny how she got out and walked door to door, and she was like, "I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it because I represent everybody the same, everybody fairly." And she did really, really well. And it showed me the kind of respect and trust that the people in the community had for Joanne. I've been with her in a lot of other social settings, and she's well liked and well thought of and well respected in the community. And I'm gonna miss you, but I know where you are.
Right, there you go. I'll miss you too, Cynthia.
And I love you a whole bunch.
Thank you, thank you.
I'd be glad to jump in. Of course, I was reading in the newspaper. I didn't know. I thought you served longer than 12 years. I thought it was much.
16.
That's what. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought we had the
Ray's
same
already been lectured.
amount of time. I'm not throwing them under the bus, but I'm not one to discuss politics. But I will say this: I take a lot from a person and their family, and your relationship with your husband. I think the world of your husband, you and your husband, and your son, and I think that says a lot about you, the fruit that you bear. So the way that you all, as a collective unit, as a collective family, are respected throughout the community says a lot about your service before you got on the board and what you've done since you become a commissioner. And like I told you this morning, you will never be unelected. People will always call you, and they're going to always expect you, whether you're elected or not, they're going to expect you to be the same Ms. Todd that you are now. So just look forward to doing the same work but not being paid for it.
Right. That's true. But, if we counted our hours sometimes with our pay, it wouldn't be fair, would it?
Okay, well, it's intimidating to follow up those two speeches to try to express basically what you mean to us. I came on the board, I guess, 6 years ago now, and it's one of those where you're just kind of looking around, new guy, you're not quite sure what you got into. But over that amount of time, I feel like I really got to know you very well, of course, you knew Harry and Kiwanis, but it's one of those things where Cynthia is spot on. It's a relationship that develops over time, and I've grown things that pop up, and basically you give the context to so many of those things that help us make the decisions that we make. But I have seen you work extremely hard on behalf of the people you represent, and that's the most admirable trait that I feel like I can see in a person that's in this position, is that they do exactly what they came in this role to do, which is represent well. I have a great deal of admiration for you. 16 years is an impressive time, and I do think you've achieved a great deal during that time. And I do want to echo the sentiment. I consider you a friend, and I will continue to consider you a friend, and I hope that this is definitely not the last that we get to interact and see each other and keep working on behalf of Griffin. So thank you for your service.
Save the best to last.
I too, like Cynthia, started off a little rocky with Joanne. We disagreed on some things early on, but we've come together over the years, and what I appreciate about her is that she tells us what she thinks. I don't have to guess. I know, and I can deal with people who are upfront and honest and tell you what they believe. And even though we never always didn't usually, or we usually agree, but not always, it's been a great relationship that I've come to become very fond of you. And I'll say the last 4 years working together on the Airport Authority have been particularly pleasant, been very supportive, very helpful. And if I made a joke about the reason you know so much is because I taught you, they probably wouldn't believe it. But I will say that I never knew until tonight that you thought I was a real doll, so what can I say?
I know. You know, and it will be a sad day when women do not think that men know something and can teach us something. I appreciate my husband, almost 61 years, and everyone thinks he's quiet. And I took one part out of my speech that I put in is the fact that now we can talk about what those commissioners did and I not be included in what those commissioners did. But, you know, this is bittersweet. I love public service. I love you guys. I think that we have got the best team that's ever been formed. I love Doug. I've watched Doug grow up, and Doug has had big shoes to fill, and he is filling them, and he represents this community so well. I'm very proud of him with the work that he does in the community with just about any and everything, almost as much as Dick. Dick just gets his name in the paper more than Doug does. Ryan with the school system has got if I could ever have another child, I would want it to be just like you are. And Rodney and I are like Cynthia and I. We don't always see things eye to eye, but what Rodney has is he has an affinity for a smile for everybody. And he comes forward and he loves his community. He loves his Griffin Bears. He loves the Spalding Jaguars. And
Go Jags. Go Jags.
And he has a lot to offer. And we have great African-American leadership in Cynthia with Cora and with Rodney. And I think you're going to see them coming to the forefront in the future years for us because we are a community now that we need each other. And we finally have realized that we're stronger when we're together than when we're apart. And so I thank you all. I thank Kenny. I thank Drew. I've learned so much from Drew. What can I say? And he's never wrong. Please understand that. He has the final say. And Jessica, I watched Jessica grow up like I did Doug. Teresa, I've only gotten to know. This is a great team. This is a tremendous business organization, and our community should be proud of the city of Griffin. I'm leaving it in good hands. I have no qualms about that whatsoever. Y'all will enjoy working with David Brock, I know.
Thank you, Joanne.
And I like the media. I like the news media, even if Ray did say I only had 12 years.
He'll get it right tomorrow, I promise you. Right, Ray?
Thank you. Thank you all. We got work
Doing
to do.
doing the math real quick, total of the 7 commissioners' years of service for this month is 82 years of service as Board of Commissioners. So I don't think you could look at any other elected body that's had that many years of experience. And we're very blessed to
And
have
thank
each
you
other.
all for the gifts. They were unnecessary, but thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. All right, moving on. We're going to recognize Aaron Cook, Assistant Superintendent with the Water Wastewater Department, as the November 2015 Strongest Link Award recipient. Dr. Brent Keller will address. Good evening, Dr. Keller.
Good evening. I don't know that I can top the last 20 minutes, but,
Don't try.
you know, department heads come up here all the time and they talk about their employees, the strongest link in the chain, and their contribution. Well, tonight I went back and looked historically about something because Aaron's a unique individual, and I'm not just saying it because he's strongest link in the chain. He's probably one of the smartest wastewater operators I've had an opportunity to be around in the state. So I went back and looked at his record, and I didn't know this. He's a native Griffin. He graduated at Griffin High School. He went in the Navy for 6 years, and I tried to figure out why he's so mechanically inclined, because we don't see us old people anymore fading away that are mechanically inclined. He was a mechanic in the Navy for 6 years. So looking at that, he's worked for the city of Griffin his first stint, about 9 years. He went to Atlanta and worked for one of the biggest wastewater reclamation centers in the state of Georgia. I think it is the biggest, isn't it? At the third at the time. Worked there 7 years, and he's come back and worked here in Griffin. But the important thing that he's contributed in the last 10 years, and it just happened this year, he's done several things, but I looked, he was born in Griffin. I went back and looked at our operators that have stayed here and stayed the course and retired here, and all of them basically were from Griffin. We have a lot of operators come and go. They go different places, yeah, for more money or what have you, or go home or whatever. So what he's caused us to do, or at least caused myself, we're presenting to Kenny in the budget this year because the Career Academy, and we've been meeting with the Career Academy. He said, why don't you mentor people here on staff? We've mentored 2 now that are here and that they got their certificates to become full-time operators. So we're going to present to Mr. Smith in the budget this year that we're going to start an apprentice program with the Career Academy for those who don't want to go to college but want a good education and opportunity to make decent money. Because at the age of 23, if they follow the course that we're to plan, they can make their salary at $41,000 a year as a student that turned into an employee that turned into a full-time operator for the city of Griffin. So we're working on that. But the couple of things that Aaron's done is we've been short wastewater operators, and he stepped up to the plate. One of our superintendents just left at Cabin Creek, and he stepped up and became not only the superintendent at Potato Creek, but at Cabin Creek till that individual could be replaced. Doesn't gripe, always smiles, never seen him mad yet. If he was mad, is when he closed the door, okay, and probably at me. But he's probably one of the most technical operators that I've seen in wastewater in a long period of time. He has done the peer review with his team over the expansion of a $20 million expansion of Potato Creek and saved us numerous amount of money on that project. And the last remark is he's probably one of the wittiest people I have on staff also. He's actually pretty funny. But for this month, he's the strongest link in the chain.
Brant, the chains.
Chains in the chair.
You can put that in your office. He doesn't like our...
He's smiling.
Mr. Cook, thank you so much for your service to the city of Griffin, and appreciate you keeping Dr. Keller in order. You got to wear that for the next 30 days. At this time, a representative of the Griffin Housing, Spalding County Hospital Authority desires to make a presentation to the City Commission concerning recent events germane to the Hospital Authority. I believe the Treasurer, Cal Axford, is going to come forward. Welcome, Cal. If you please give your name and address for the record, and if you don't mind introducing the other members that are here tonight.
Thank you. My
Thank you,
name is
sir.
Cal Oxford. I live at 32 Stillwater Trace in beautiful Griffin, Georgia. And I'd like to say, Commissioner Todd, thank you for your service. Thank you for the service that you've given to the Hospital Authority and your support and dedication over the years. We thank you.
Thank you.
We want to give you a little, before I give you the meat of why I'm here, I want to give you guys 2 minutes, or not even 2 minutes, just tell you what the hospital authority's been up to. As of November the 30th, hospital authority has funds of $48,199,000 and some odd change. In this year, we made grants totaling $1,035,000 for the year 2016 to the community of Griffin. And as you know, that is for the purpose of promoting health and physical well-being expenditures. And we, even though it's been a terribly difficult market for interest rates, and as most of you know, we can only give away the money we earn. We can't give away the money in the bank, so to speak. We've still been able to give away over $1 million. And so we hope that's because you have a wonderful board at the hospital authority, and 5 of them are here tonight as well. So, and they all do a good job. So I thank you for the support you guys have given us as well. Now, on to the reason for my being here. As you know, as everybody knows by now, Tenet and Wellstar have entered into a definitive agreement for Wellstar to purchase all of the facilities within the state of Georgia that belong to Tenet, all of the hospitals and clinics. Of course, that includes Spalding Regional Hospital. Early on, thanks to the foresight of the, I suppose, the previous hospital authorities, in 1984 and then again in 1996, this current authority was granted the right of first refusal should the hospital be sold. Now, I'll tell you, we didn't want to own a hospital. Single facility, community-owned hospitals do not survive in today's market. One closed this past weekend in Catoosa County, Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. There was a closure this past week of a community-owned hospital. They just do not do well because they don't have the volume, they don't have the negotiation horsepower with insurance companies for reimbursement. They have trouble attracting doctors. They have trouble supporting capital expenditures. It takes mass in today's healthcare world to survive. We recognize that should we purchase the hospital, we would be somewhat in a negative position to start with. So we started talking to Tenet early on. And by the way, John Quinn is here from Tenet. And I will say Tenet has been a marvelous partner for us in this community and has been a good partner in this negotiation as well. We started talking to Tenet early on about what their plans were. The concerns for the hospital authority early on, expressed by the entire board, were we did not want to see this hospital reducing services. We didn't want to see this hospital shrinking. We did not want to see this hospital become an admitting room for Fayetteville or McDonough or Atlanta. We wanted this hospital to be viable and sustainable and growing and being a regional facility that it is today, and to improve on that. That was the goal of the hospital authority from day one. That was the goal that we expressed to Tenet from the day one, with meetings with John and also with the corporate people from Tenet who came to Griffin a number of times to meet with us. We put together a list of things that we wanted to see happen. We entered into an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement with Tenet, so that we could talk turkey, so to speak, and so that should they get close, they could disclose to us who their final choices were, and it would allow us to have negotiation with those partners as well. Now, early on, it became very evident that whoever bought the hospital was going to be a nonprofit. The leaders, I guess John can probably tell you better than I can, but the leaders were Northside Hospital, Piedmont Hospital, Navicent and Macon, and late to the party Wellstar, all of which are nonprofits. So it was very evident from day one that our hospital was going to be a nonprofit. And I remind you, should we have purchased it ourselves, we're a nonprofit as well. So no matter what happened with this whole thing, that hospital is going to become a nonprofit, and those properties were going to come off the tax records, which is a great concern to everybody, apparently. We started negotiation, and I want to say, for the record, I guess I've become the face of this, but the entire board was engaged in this process. The entire board of the hospital authority was active and participated in our conversations with Wellstar and with the tenant. As to Wellstar, we began meeting with them in July of this year. The chief executive officer, the chairman of the board of trustees, and one of their hospital operators, the chief administrator at one of the newest hospitals, came down and met with the hospital authority. And I have to tell you, we were impressed from day one with Wellstar. We had no qualms about saying to each other and to the people that we talked to that Wellstar, if we could have picked a partner, it would have been Wellstar. They have a wonderful reputation. They believe in giving back to the community. They believe in participating in the community. We've been blessed with tenant, but I think Wellstar is going to be a wonderful partner for this community. I see nothing but good things happening. Well, as a result of our communication with Wellstar and with tenant, we expressed the same concerns to Wellstar that we had to tenant, and they've agreed to an agreement which I understand you all have copies of now. This agreement is signed, sealed, and executed. It's legally binding upon tenant, Wellstar, and the hospital authority. What we've done is we've swapped our right of first refusal for commitments by Wellstar for certain things. Number one, there'll be no reduction of core services. They will continue to grow core services where applicable, where they can justify it, where they can recruit doctors to serve it. You got to have the doctors. You can't have a neurology facility over there unless you got neurologists on board, psychiatrists, etc. We got a commitment from them not to. They don't operate an EMT unit, but they're going to continue owning and operating this one. And they've agreed that they won't dispose of it, shut it down, or do anything with it unless they get approval from the hospital authority. So the community EMT is intact and will stay with us. They're going to continue recruiting physicians. And I'll tell you this, physicians don't want to open private practices anymore. I've become a little bit of I'm not going to say an expert. I know more about hospitals than I ever wanted to know now. But I'll tell you this, doctors do not want to open private practices anymore. A doctor, a local physician here in town, a specialist here in town, told me that he cannot recruit a doctor coming in to take over his practice, even though that doctor could make over $500,000 a year, simply because they don't want to put up with the hours, they don't want to put up with the billing, they don't want to put up with the hassle, they don't want to put up with the things that private practices have to do. Doctors coming out of med school today want to be employed by the hospital. They work 40 hours a week, they go home, they don't have to worry about insurance, they don't have to worry about billing, they don't have to worry about staff, they don't have to worry about any of those things. So Wellstar is in much better position to recruit physicians than most hospitals are. They are going to continue to make a commitment to recruiting physicians. They're going to expand services where they can justify them. Where we can show a need, they have said that they will expand the services that we don't currently have. Capital support, which is important, as John Quinn will tell you, capital, what we call CapEx, or capital support, is the lifeblood of the hospital. Wellstar has committed $5 million a year for 5 years for capital expenditure. And I asked John tonight, I said, what's your first $5 million go to? And he needs a $1.8 million MRI machine. So that equipment is not cheap. But, and I asked John early on, I said, if tenant gave you $5 million a year for 5 years for CapEx, would you be happy? He told me he'd be very happy. So it's a large commitment on behalf of Wellstar. There's drawing on the boards from tenant to convert this hospital to all private rooms. As you know, there's some semi-private rooms out there, but John had made a proposal to tenant to convert the hospital to all private rooms, and that is an expansion of the hospital. John, I think, termed it the hospital tower. They would be adding rooms so that they could convert all of the current rooms to private. It's a $15 million expansion. Wellstar has said that they will continue the process of evaluating the need and the study, and if it's justified, then they will commit the $15 million in addition to the 25. So there's potentially a $40 million infusion of capital expenditure in this hospital over the next 5 years. Wellstar has agreed to appoint a board member from the hospital authority. That's so that we can sort of monitor our agreement and make sure that they're living up to everything they say they're going to do. An important part of this is the items called continuation of commitments. Wellstar has reserved the right to sell the hospital to Northside or Piedmont or Navicent. All three are nonprofits. If they were to sell to one of those three, which they assure me they have no intention of doing, this agreement goes into full force with the buyer. This agreement is carried over to the new buyer as well. Should it be sold offered to anybody else other than those three, then we have first right of refusal again. We retain our first right of refusal. So this agreement stays in force. Northside, if it's Piedmont, or if it's Navicent, if it's anybody else, we have first right of refusal. We're trying to protect the community again. That's 7 and 8. Finally, the part that everybody's most interested in, and I'm sure you are too, local taxes. I have to remind you once again, prior to tenant AMI buying the hospital, it was a nonprofit, so this community was the hospital property wasn't on the tax records for 40 years. When tenant bought it, tenant's one of the few for-profit hospital operators in the country. Of course, it went on the tax records. And I just reiterate to you, anybody other than tenant, almost in the state of Georgia, buying this hospital, it becomes a non-profit hospital. Wellstar is a 501c3. They put 100% of their money back into the community, back in the state of Georgia. They're only in the state of Georgia. They don't want to go outside the state of Georgia. They don't want to go out of the northwest quadrant. We're the southern link of the the southern link of the quadrant. And the western link is now anchored by a new hospital they just agreed to take over, which is West Georgia Medical in LaGrange. So that quadrant is now Wellstar's service quadrant. That's all they want to do. They don't want to go to Savannah. They don't want to go to Macon. They don't want to go to Albany. They don't want to go to Athens. They want that northwest quadrant. With us is the southern link. As a 501c3, Wellstar is obviously eligible as a nonprofit status to come off the tax records. What we've agreed to them with is that for 2016, they will pay the full amount of property taxes due, up to $900,000. Now, in all due respect to the newspaper, the taxes that are coming to this county are a great deal more than $550,000. There's a property tax on the physical plant itself. There's the EMT facility, which I think was pointed out. There's also a good deal of personal property tax that's on the tax records as well. The total amount is significantly more than what's been reported. The Wellstar has said that they will pay the entire tax bill up to $900,000 for the first year. The second year, they're going to pay $600,000 flat. And the third year, $300,000. So there is the proposition of $1.8 million. The Wellstar is volunteering to pay this community. They're under no obligation legally to do so. but they recognize that, there's commitment to this community, and they wanna step up and say, we wanna belong to this community. So they voluntarily, obligated themselves to pay that amount of money. Now, we'll have to say this, we did not specify how the money split up. We did not undertake the proposition of saying the money goes here and here and here. All we did was specify the money's paid to the county tax agent as collector for the city, the county, and the school system. You guys gotta figure out how to split it up. Okay? Any questions?
What about the, assuming of staff? Will they bring in a nursing service? Will the nurses be affiliated with the hospital? Did they mention any of that whatsoever?
Commissioner Todd, I do not know. I have no, my portion of this has not really involved the negotiations of the aspect of what happens with the staff of the hospital or anything else. And John Quinn is here, maybe you want to ask him, but I'm not sure that he can tell you that at this point either. But I can tell you this, Wellstar, from my conversations with the Chief Executive Officer and the Chairman of the Board of Wellstar, they don't have any intentions of reducing staff here. Their intention is solely to grow this hospital. They have no interest in reducing the staff here.
I'd like to go on record that I think that we have a wonderful local hospital. And I recently had my knee replaced, and I purposely chose to stay at home and have one of the finest orthopedic surgeons do it, as well as be in one of the finest hospitals in the state of Georgia. And that's local.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think a lot of that thanks goes to John Quinn as the current administrator. And I do thank John, but I also am really looking forward to Wellstar. I've become a real Wellstar fan, having met with those folks and having sat down and talked with them and having the commitments made that they've made. I think they're going to be a wonderful addition to this community. Any other questions?
I have a comment or two. First off, I think he's all very positive. I'm impressed. And what impresses me is that you managed to, you as the face of this, managed to get 9 very positive points out of them with literally minimal leverage. So I don't know how you did it, but
We didn't have many hold cards.
I know that was impressive. And two parts I think are extremely positive. One is the money in lieu of taxes, the $1.8 million are going to pay in to allow us locally to transition off of that property tax roll. I think that was extremely positive, and how you got them to agree to it, I don't know, but thank goodness you did. And also the EMT unit has been very critical to me, because Paul Beeman, as the director out there, won the Georgia State Gold Award, or EMTs, last year. We have an incredible EMT unit. I know he's worked very closely with Tommy Jones in a partnership. So keeping an EMT service of that caliber, I think, is incredibly important to our community, and I'm happy it's in there. So I think where Doug wanted to go a minute ago is we'd like to recognize the other members of the hospital authority, but I want to thank you personally. And by the way, the last number I thought I remembered for the corpus on the hospital authority money was about $44 million. You said there's 48?
I've been on the authority for 8 years, Commissioner Mara, and my first year on the commission, the corpus was about $41 million. And we've been able to grow that to $48 million without injuring our corpus and without giving away what we're supposed to give away.
Well, I think if I had my way, I might make you treasurer for life, so I hope you... But thank you all for what you do.
And in a very bad market, too, we've been able to.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
true,
astounded.
which is really good.
Cal, if you could please introduce the other members on the board.
Yeah,
If you don't mind.
If you don't mind, boy, Eddie Grogan, just stick your hand
Stand
up.
up, will you?
Eddie. Yeah.
Brian Upson, Don Kreider, and Bonnie Progner, who you all know. Yvonne Langford, our executive secretary, and Mark Keith is our attorney.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you.
And thank you, Cal, for for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Did I get
leadership
my
and
money?
service. You owe him. Remember, it's every minute over 5 was 100 to Drew, right?
Thank you.
No,
Whoa.
thank you. That was the deal we had.
Oh,
Short.
okay, gotcha.
That's okay. Check's in the mail. Well, thank you, folks, for being here. Next item is to present the annual audit results and comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2015. Chief Financial Officer Marcus Schwab will address David Irwin, CPA, with accompanying with this presentation. Welcome.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
We have David Irwin here today to discuss and review the audit results and findings and the comprehensive annual financial report. As you recall, Wade Sansbury was moved over to south to Tampa, and he's taken on a new role there, a lead role as partner in that area. So, without further ado, I'd like to present David Irwin here to go over the financials.
Good evening. Welcome.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all doing?
Good.
As Marcus said, my name is David Irwin. I'm with Malden Jenkins. I, along with Wade Sansbury, were the partners in charge that oversaw this year's audit of the city's financial statements. Unfortunately, Wade was unable to be here this evening, but I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all to discuss the results of the audit. In addition to the financial statements themselves, I believe you all have received something we call our auditor's discussion and analysis. This document provides you some general information on who we are as a firm. It summarizes what I'll be discussing with you here this evening, and it also gives you a synopsis of some future GASB standards that will be implemented in the upcoming years. That being said, for the most part, I will be going through the financial statements with you, so please keep that in hand. The financial statements themselves are the responsibility of the city's management and members of the city council. As your external auditor, our responsibility is to issue an opinion on these statements. We conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards, and I'm happy to say that we're issuing a clean or unmodified opinion on this year's report. Now, this is what you want. What this means is that, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Now, I'd also like to add this year's audit went extremely well. In addition to you all receiving a clean opinion, I'm happy to say that we had no audit findings this year. And to give you some perspective on how impressive that is, we as a firm audited around 300 governments throughout the Southeast. And of those 300 audits, I would say we probably have audit findings on probably 80% of them. So for you all to have had no audit findings this year is really a testament to the hard work done by your staff from the top down. Kenny, Marcus, Chuck, the entire finance staff, they're always very receptive to any suggestions we have, and they're always looking for ways to improve. In addition, they're proactive rather than reactive. You know, they'll call me throughout the year, email me, email Wade or I if they have any questions. If they have a question on how something should be recorded, they want to address it on the front end and not wait until the audit before they ask those questions. And that results in a timely financial audit and efficient audit. So I just want to thank them and commend them for their hard work this year. Now for a brief overview of financial statements. You know, you all prepare what's called a comprehensive annual financial report, otherwise known as a CAFR. A CAFR goes far beyond the basic financial reporting requirements. It provides some additional general information on the city's structure and the services that it provides. It also has a statistical section at the end of the document that discloses a broad range of economic, financial, and demographic information. Some of that information covering multiple years, and it really gives you a good, it's quite useful in assessing the city's economic condition. The city's CAFR is submitted annually to the Governmental Finance Officers Association, GFOA, and you all were once again awarded the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for 2014, and that certificate for 2014 is included in this year's document. I believe this was the 11th or 12th year that you all have received this certificate, so congratulations to you all on that. Preceding the financial statements themselves in the report is something called a management discussion analysis. It begins on page 4. It's 9 or so pages long. If you read only one section of this document, I strongly encourage you to read the MD&A. This is written by management. It gives you a good financial summary of what all occurred throughout the year. It's kind of a Cliff Notes version of the CAFR itself. You know, it also provides you an excellent synopsis of where you've been, where you are, and hopefully where you're going in terms like I said, if you read only one section of this document, please read the MD&A. Now on to the financial statements. The city's basic financial statements are broken up into three components. And if you all will turn to page 13, you'll see the first component, which is the government-wide financial statements. Page 13 is the statement of net position. This is otherwise known as the balance sheet in the private sector business. The government-wide financial statements, they provide a broad view of the city's operations in a manner similar to that to a private sector business. This component includes both the city's governmental activities as well as their business-type activities. In addition, you'll see in this document, you also have 4 columns that shows each of the 4 of the city's component units. As of June 30th, the city had total assets around $210.7 million, the majority of which, as you would imagine, are their capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation. That totaled approximately $40 million. The city had total liabilities of $97.3 million, the majority of which, $82.7 million, were classified as long-term liabilities. Now, when you're looking at this document, one thing that I'm sure is jumping out to you all that is different from prior years is the net pension liability of approximately $17.4 million that we now have recorded. GASB 68 and 71 was implemented during the beginning of 2015, the fiscal year 2015. And what these pronouncements did was it required governmental entities for the first time to record their allocated portion of their net pension liability on the books. Now, this statement was applied retroactively, meaning that when we recorded this liability, the offsetting expense did not hit, the entire amount of the offsetting expense did not hit current year. What we did was we determined what the June 30, 2014 liability would have been, and we reduced the beginning net position by that amount. And that reduction was approximately $17.8 million. And that includes both the governmental activities and the business type activities. Now, this is discussed in further detail in footnote 18, and you can see the restatement to the beginning net position at the bottom of page 14. Now, the net pension liability, it was calculated via an annual actuarial evaluation that GMA has performed, and the pension plan itself is audited every year. In footnote 7, we'll tell you more about the net pension liability than you could possibly ever want to know. It's really kind of silly what all they require us to have in there now. I think your footnote 7 that discusses your pension itself is 6 or 7 pages long. It's really kind of silly. And I will say this, there's quite a bit of frustration, if you will, with regards to GASB 68. It's left a lot of people in our industry kind of scratching our heads. You know, it's a liability that you all are now required to have on your books. But it's not really a liability that you're going to have to pay. The plan itself is going to pay this liability. Nothing changes on your end. The city will continue to make their contributions monthly as they always have. The only difference now is you have this large liability on your books for the foreseeable future. Now, for the governmental funds, this liability is only recorded at the entity-wide level. This isn't recorded in your general fund. It's not going to affect your bond rating. Like I said, this is simply a large liability that the city's going to have on its books.
It's a net liability, but it's not an unfunded liability.
Yes, that's your portion of the unfunded liability.
Of the unfunded, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But the OPEB is not included. Separate line in here.
Correct.
You can see that.
This liability is allocated amongst your governmental activities and your business type activities. For your business type activities, that liability is recorded at the fund level. It's just a different way of how, accounting nuances of how different type funds are recorded. I will say this, though. That being said, GASB 68 really hasn't affected the city nearly as much as we've seen with other funds. And that can really be attributed to the strong overall financial position of the city. So hats off to you all on that. We've kept a database of the effect of GASB 68 on our clients, and specifically their unrestricted net position. And for the employer plan that you all have, the average decrease in our clients' unrestricted net position, I think, is 52%. The city's unrestricted net position decreased 14%. So, like I said, hats off to you all on that. While it's a hard hit to take, see that $17 million liability in the books now, like I said, it hasn't really affected you nearly as much as we've seen it affect other clients. With regards to net position, the city had an ending net position of $116.8 million. That's shown at the bottom of page 13, and that's an increase of around $8 million from prior year. And the details of that increase is shown on the statement of activities on the next page, commonly referred to as the income statement on page 14. second component of the city's financial statements are the fund level financial statements, and those begin on page 15. And this component focuses on individual parts of the government in more detail than that of the government-wide financial statements. And of primary interest to you all, obviously, is the general fund. That's the fund where the majority of the revenues are received and the funds are expended. So if you all turn to page 15 shows the balance sheet of the governmental funds. The general fund ended the year with total assets of around $11.7 million and total liabilities of around 1.4. And this resulted in ending fund balance of the general fund of $10.3 million, which is an increase of around $2 million from prior year. And one thing to keep in mind when we're talking about fund balance. Fund balance doesn't mean the vested amount of money, the amount of cash you have on hand at year end to be able to spend as you see fit. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Fund balance is the difference between assets and liabilities, only a portion of which is cash on hand. Additionally, the general fund incurs expenditures of approximately $2 million per month. So it's good to see that the general fund has a strong enough fund balance as of June 30th to cover those expenditures during the months of July through November when revenues are typically down. If you'll turn to page 16, the statement of revenues, expenses, and change in fund balance for the governmental funds, commonly referred to as the income statement. Total revenues for the general fund was approximately $18.2 million. As you would expect, the majority of those revenues were property and other taxes, around $10.5 million. Other significant revenue sources, $5.5 million in charges for services, and $705,000 in fines and forfeitures, and $526,000 in franchise taxes. Midway through that page, you'll see the expenditures for the year for the general fund. That total approximately $24.6 million. Once again, no surprise, the majority of those expenditures relate to public safety. That was around $14 million, and $4.6 million in general government expenditures. Other significant expenditure sources were $3.8 for public works and $1.2 for housing and economic development. As has been the case in prior years, the general fund did have a significant amount of transfers in from other funds, the wastewater fund and the electric fund. That totaled around $8.5 million for the year. And down at the bottom of that page, you will see the increase of $2 million in fund balance that I alluded to earlier for the general fund. That results in an ending fund balance of $10.3 million. A couple other funds I want to briefly mention are the city's three major enterprise funds. Those are the wastewater, the electric utility, and the solid waste funds. If you all turn to page 20, you'll see the statement of net position, otherwise known as the balance sheet. You know, these funds are used to account for operations in a manner similar to that of a private sector business. You know, your goal here is to have your operating revenues sufficient enough to cover your operating expenditures. The income statement for these funds are on page 22. And as you can see, the water wastewater fund and the electric utility funds, they continue to do quite well. Water wastewater fund had operating revenue of around $6 million, while the electric utility fund had operating income of $9.7 million, which is quite strong and definitely what you want to see out of your enterprise funds. Even the solid waste fund, you know, it did have an operating loss of $124,000, but included in that operating loss is depreciation expense of $345,000. That's depreciation of your capital assets. That's a non-cash item. So when you back out $345,000 depreciation expense from that operating loss, the solid waste fund is generating positive cash flows. It's not nearly enough with regards to the other two funds, obviously, but it is generating positive cash flows, which is what, like I said earlier, that's what you want to see out of your enterprise fund. After the transfers out to the general fund that I alluded to earlier with the water fund and the electric fund, the water fund and electric fund had an increase in net position of around $1.9 and $1.2 million respectively, while the solid waste fund had a slight decrease of $120,000. The third and final component of the city's financial statements are the footnotes. Those begin on page 29. Besides the footnotes that discuss the implementation of GASB 68, there really weren't any significant changes to that prior year. So I won't go into those in detail unless anybody has any specific questions. You all were once again required to have a single audit. And this is a compliance audit that's required when an entity has over $500,000 in total expenditures for the year. I believe you all had around $1.1 million in such expenditures, and the majority of that related to the community development block grant. We are issuing a clean or unmodified opinion on a single audit as well, and as was the case with the financial audit, we have no audit that concludes my presentation. You know, as you can see, there's quite a bit of information in this document. What I've tried to do is just hit the highlights of what I think is of most importance to you all. That being said, if there's anything in here that you have a question about now or later on, as you look through it, I'll be happy to address any questions you may have. Once again, I think this year's audit went extremely well. I want to thank you and your staff for a job well done. Wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Are there any questions or comments?
Good job.
Great testimony to your hard work, Marcus, with your team. We do appreciate it, and it's exciting to watch that fund balance continue to grow for the last 12 years from a negative 3.1 to just over $10 million now. So thank you for everybody for their hard work and commitment. Thank you. Next item is review financials for October 2015. Chief Financial Officer Marcus Schwab with address.
All right, I will probably not have as much to say as Mr. Irwin, but
Everything looks good.
I'm typically a little bit more reserved. But anyway, cash balance, any questions on those items? Okay, the next item will be the local option sales tax. And there we can see we collected another $352,000, which is up from prior years. So we're doing pretty well there. Now, hopefully that trend continues in light of this morning's discussion about the SPLOST proceeds, future SPLOST proceeds. Okay, moving on to the interim statements. Any questions there about any particular funds or revenues? This is through October, so third of the way, fourth of the way.
Any questions or comments?
Well, it's clean.
It's boring. Isn't it?
Boring.
Boring.
Love it.
It's all Joanne's fault.
There you go. There you go.
Good job. Thank you,
All right,
Marcus.
thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, citizens' comments. This time, the chairperson opens the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to a specific agenda item not listed on the agenda for the public hearing or to a concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business or are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The chairperson reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for resolution. With that being said, is there anybody on my left that would like to come before the commission? Is there anybody on my right that would like to come before the commission? Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent agenda, consider approval of minutes of the November 24, 2015 regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, if no one has any additions or corrections, I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Mr. Marr made a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. McLemore. And I think we've got a couple of abstentions. I know myself. So all in favor?
Mine as well. I will
So
abstain.
all in favor, please signal by raising your hand. So we have 3, 4, and 3 abstentions, correct? You weren't here, were you?
I think it was Kohler that said 3 and 3.
Yeah.
So 3 in favor, 3 abstentions, myself, Ms. Todd, and Mr. McCourt.
I was in the vicinity.
You were.
With that count.
And I was in, I was,
Can't count
Okay.
there, but
excellent. All right, moving to the regular agenda. Item A, consider approval of a budget amendment for forklift training from Toyota Forklift of Atlanta in the amount of one.
We skipped
yeah,
that.
we got to do
I'm
number
so
7.
sorry,
Skip number
excuse me.
7.
Item 7, consider on second reading the ordinance amending the Code of Griffin, Georgia at Chapter 86 Telecommunications, Article 3 Telecommunication Antennas and Tower Standards by deleting the present article and adoption in lieu thereof a new article in conformance with the Spectrum Act of 2012, modifying the Telecommunications Act of 1996.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve.
Second.
Mr. Marr made a motion, Mr. McCord made a second. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir. All in favor, raise your hand. 6-0. We've taken care of that. Regular agenda, consider approval to amend the budget for forklift training from Toyota Forklift of Atlanta in the amount of $1,799 for the Water Wastewater Department and Electric Department.
Make a motion that we approve.
Mr. McCord made a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Ms. Ward with a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 9, consider the approval of quote for reconditioning of pump number 2, lift station number 7 to PMC Company in the amount of $16,496.30 for the Water and Wastewater Department of the Public Works and Utilities Department.
Motion approved.
Ms. Ford made a motion.
Second.
The second, Mr. Morrow. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 10, consider approval of general release and indemnification agreement between Jessica Owens and the City of Griffin for personal injuries incurred in a motorcycle vehicle accident occurring December 17, 2012, in which forms the subject of civil action file number 14B-1804, Spalding Superior Court.
I move we approve the agreement.
Have a motion by Mr. Morrow. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ford. Any questions or comments? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. All right, so City Manager, update.
No other meetings this month, so you're off for the remainder of the year. Have great holidays, but remember, in January, the first meeting, we'll have numerous board appointments. So I've put at your place those vacancies for boards, and we'll go through the same process that we do every year. Monday, this coming Monday, the 14th, we'll be swearing in our newly elected officials, including Commissioner-elect Brock, and also Mr. Holberg and Ms. Flowers will be sworn in again.
That's Monday at 4:30
Monday, the 14th at 5:30.
here.
In this room, just prior to the airport authority
Okay. 10 o'clock.
meeting. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Whalen?
Probably politically incorrect, but I will wish y'all all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
My attorney says you can't say it.
Oh, you daring rascal, you.
Yes. Mr. McCoy?
Living dangerously.
Mr. McLemore?
I'll reiterate the Merry Christmas, congratulations to you, Mr. Todd, and well done, Marcus. That was, I know what you were thinking earlier for it. That was a great report.
Amen.
Mr. Morrow?
Welcome, David. Looking forward to you being up here. Ms. Todd, bon voyage.
I'll see you Monday. Got one more meeting.
One more meeting
4:30.
over at the airport authority. I agree. So I agree. Merry Christmas to y'all.
Ms. Todd?
It's been a blast. It truly has. It's been a wonderful 16 years. It was so nice at 2004. Again, I'll reiterate, when we hired Kenny, we got the ship straightened, and you can see the results of that in the audit report tonight. Again, support this board. It is a wonderful board, and they care about you because they have to pay the same taxes you pay. So, and probably some of them more than I pay. Anyway, but I will be back. I'm not giving up. I'm only giving up elected office, not public service. Thank you for being here tonight.
Ms. Ford?
Merry Christmas.
Just a couple of quick things.
Oh, I need a ride.
I want to thank this board for the one-time payment to employees for this season. I've had more praise and thanks from employees for that, and I think it was well-deserved for their hard work and commitment. Again, Ms. Todd, thank you for your support and everything that you've done for our community. This is my last official meeting as chairman, and this one compared to 2008 was kind of a whirlwind. I think in 2008 it was more of us against them, and this has been a we the whole time, and it's been a real pleasure. I guess as chairman of the board, the biggest thing is not to embarrass this community. So we've had this theme that Rodney came up with, for the love of Griffin, and we've tried to promote that. So with this Christmas season, it's for the love of Griffin. There's hope. I'm very optimistic about the future of Griffin and hope of Griffin and Spalding County, and peace to all this season. And it is a great season to celebrate this Christmas and for our families and friends. And Kenny, thank you. You've been awesome. We're proud of you. So, with that being said, we had a motion adjourned by Mr. Morrow. Do we have a second by
I'll
Mr.
second that.
Ms. Todd seconded it. All in favor, please rise.